me ask you about Diddy, Puffy.
Oh, Diddy.
That's your boy, man. That's your boy.
Listen, I'll be honest to tell you, I never had a bad relationship with Diddy. Yes, did he get into trouble when I dealt with him years ago? And it was like I was his personal detective. Every time he got in trouble, I was always picking him up or going to surrender him to the precinct to be arrested.
Right.
Yes. But back then, hip-hop was very volatile, and there were a lot of things that went on in this music industry with people. There was a lot of, there was a lot of things that people don't know. The extortion, the protection, the streets. Rappers couldn't go into cities and just show up like, okay, I'm from New York, and I'm going to do a show in L.A. And then people say, who's coming out here? He know who we are? We're Bloods.
Right.
He can't come to our city and perform without seeing us. You see what I'm saying? It's not so easy. Puff didn't have it easy being a guy who was doing what he did. Now, all these things that are coming out about him, it's unfortunate, but I don't know Puffy's lifestyle, how he lives. That's not something I'm privy to that I can discuss because I don't know that about him.
Right.
But I've heard a lot of things, and I listen. I keep my ear to the streets and see what's going on. But it's a shame that everybody's coming out now to attack his brand and to try to hurt him. But he knows a lot too. So remember, I think somebody wrote in, Puffy is going to expose the whole industry. If I'm going down, everybody's going down. And I'm like, what? I was reading that like, what? But there's a lot to this music industry that's coming back now. You see how things are starting from the past that are coming to fruition, as my friend would say. They're starting to come back to like haunt you.
Right.
To
be clear for the viewers, these are just allegations. These are just civil lawsuits. These aren't criminal investigations. Not at this time of recording, not that we know of. But what do you think? These are crazy accusations from rape or gay sex or not paying people.
Well, when you get allegations like this and they come out, they have to be investigated. That's number one. They have to be looked into. How far they're looking into it, I don't know. I know there was a couple people suing Puffy. I think there was some girl suing him recently. I read some girl with red hair.
Right, she was Cassie's friend.
Cassie's friend or
She's
something.
suing him, actually suing him
She's
now.
suing him, and then this woman, Natasha Rubin, has got some podcast or some
She's coming out.
documentary or something about her being shot at the New York club.
Right.
I was there at the time.
Right.
And I had that case. That was my case. Part of it. I wasn't the detective assigned to it. I was the detective that had to work with the detectives that had that case.
Right. Let's talk about that because she says she clearly said that she's saying now, and she said it back then, that Puffy shot her. That there was guns in Shine and Puffy's hands. When you hear her say that, what do you think?
Well, from what I remember, Shine had a gun, and he was caught and he was arrested. Puff had a gun. I'm not so sure about that at the time because my thing was if Puff had a gun, so many people would have come forward and said, yeah, Puffy had a gun. Who doesn't know who Puffy is? Everybody knows who Puffy is. That's number two. I'm not saying that she was wrong because she was the one that was injured. She was the one that was shot. But people gave conflicting statements back then from what I remember.
I see.
I think they said that she might have got hit with maybe glass or maybe with something else. But again, I wasn't the case detective that took her interviews.
Right.
I was there, but there was a detective that had the actual case that took the actual interviews of whatever witnesses that he could find or came forward. Like I said, Shine went to jail. Shine did 10 years, I think.
Right. Yeah,
and now he's like what? The mayor of Belize, or he's like the prime minister's son? I don't know. He's big in Belize now. So
at one point he was Jewish.
Yeah, it worked out good for him. He's running Belize. But as far as there was a bunch of things that went on in that case. I remember Jennifer Lopez. I remember when I had unhooked her from the cage because she was in the cage. They hooked her up too. She was pissed. and I remember the cop saying, "Hey man, why are you over here?" And I said, "Time out, buddy. This is way below your pay grade. Is not even in this area. Get out of here. Beat it." Not like that, but I told them, like, I'll be handling this. Go away. And it really wasn't my case to begin all the way. It was going to be the DA's office and the detectives in the Midtown South precinct. They were going to handle it because we had to bring everything back to Midtown South because that was the precinct of occurrence, and we were in Midtown North. So everything goes in jurisdictional lines,
Is J-Lo just as pretty in person? Or?
No, she's a very attractive woman. Listen, she's with Ben Affleck now. She's doing very well.
Yeah.
She's always, you see her now. She's got a new album out. She still looks great at her age. So
You listen to the album? Or no?
I mean, I listen to some of the things, but I listen to everything. So
Right.
I watch and listen to everything. But she's doing well, and I think that was a part of her life that happened, and she's past that, and she's moved on.
So from what you're telling me, you've heard that she was never hit by a bullet. She was hit by glass.
From what I remember, there was some talk about glass fragments that might have hit her eye or near her, or her vision was.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for sure because I didn't take the statement from the detective, but I remember listening to the witnesses that talked, and I said, well, everybody knows Puff. If Puff walked in the club where he had a gun on him, more people would have came forward and said, yeah, Puff had a gun. But I think at the time it might have been 3 people or maybe 4. I'm just going back from what I remember. But I do remember that case because I had to, Puffy saw me and he said, Derrick, man, I got to talk to you. And I was like, Puff, come on, man, again. We're back here again, and the detective's like, Derrick, we're not giving him any special treatment this time. And I was like, okay, man, relax. Because, I had to tell the detectives, relax. He still is a figure in the industry. Let's just relax with this. And I got to remember one thing about this case. I'll tell you one thing. I never seen so many reporters. There was the news people. There were over 300 people from all over. But that was because J-Lo was involved.
Right.
There was 300 reporters outside. I never forget when I left the precinct and going in, and the guy's like, Derrick, I remember when I walked into Midtown North, and all the lawyers applauded me, and they said, finally somebody with brains is here. And I was like, listen, guys, you can't be saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're going to insult people. And the chief was like, well, Derrick, you're in charge. And I'm like, no, chief, you're the chief. I'm just here. He said, no, the police commissioner sent you here. So you're running the show until otherwise. I'm told otherwise. But it wasn't up to me. It was up to the district attorney's office. They were the ones that were running the show because they had to prosecute the case,
Right. Latanya says she still has bullet fragments in her face.
I mean, that's something that the doctors would know, or surgeons, or
I believe the surgeon had testified.
Yeah, if the surgeon testified, but I don't think Puff was ever charged with shooting her.
Okay.
If I remember, Puff got acquitted. Yeah, he got acquitted because I was at the trial.
Right.
Puff was acquitted because I remember being at the trial because the police commissioner wanted me to be there in the courtroom because if there was any community unrest, I would be able to notify him first. Like if Puff got acquitted or if he got convicted, they wanted to be prepared, in the streets, that there wasn't an outrage of people in the streets, causing problems.
They were worried about a riot.
Right, a riot and things like that, yeah. So that's why I was in the courthouse that time for that.
Right. I mean, because the world was definitely different back then. Because there's not much, wasn't social media. There wasn't like a lot of video.
No, it wasn't back then. And then, like I said, I remember he got acquitted. So.
But when you said that he came over and spoke to you, hey Derrick, did you remember the conversation? What he wanted, or?
No, he was just, he and I had small talk. I said, Puff, come on, bro, like, what's going on with you? He's like, yo, man, Derrick, I ain't got nothing to do with this, man. He was telling me, I said, Puff, just relax, man, because the detective's like, we're not giving him no special treatment. And I said, guys, let me handle this. Everybody needs to calm down.
Right.
Let me just handle this and let's see what we could do here and how we can do this so it's the right way. Because remember, these guys had high power attorneys. Even J-Lo. They had the Ben Brafmans and the Eddie Hayes and Larry Ruggiero. They had big attorneys.
Right.
So they weren't fooling around with these
Puff
cases.
had Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran came later on, but they had high power attorneys, so you got to be really cool with these cases. I was like, listen, you can't really question them. You got to wait till the attorneys come. And that's when the DA's office came and they sort of sit down with the district attorney over these cases because it wasn't going to be with me, it was going to be with them.